Spend about 20 minutes talking about amendments that I have that are germane and we will be voting on. But they're small amendments. There's nothing big here. And they're amendments that are designed to make a point. We just ran, by a factor of 2, the largest deficit in the history of this country. Of the money we spent in 2009 fiscal year, we borrowed 43% of it. 43 cents out of every dollar that we expended, 43 cents out of we borrowed from our children and our grandchildren. And we have before us a bill, the Commerce, Justice, Science bill, that will go up almost 13%, 12.6% this year, on the back of a 15.5% increase last year. And the latest inflation numbers are deflation, a minus 0.4%. And the question America has to ask itself after we pass $800 billion of stimulus spending, for which this agency got billions, which is not reflected in any of these increases, how is it that when we can spend $1.4 trillion that we don't have, and we can come to the floor and continue to have double-digit increases in almost everything that we pass? Now, it doesn't take a lot of math to figure out that if we keep doing what we're doing, that in 4.5 years, the size of the federal government doubles. If you do this, for another 4 years, we will double the size of the federal government. So there's absolutely no fiscal restraint within the appropriation bills that are going through this body, with the exception of one, and that's the Defense Department. Probably the one that's most important to us in terms of our national security, in terms of where there's no question we have waste, but where we need to make sure that we are prepared for the challenges that face us. And if you look at what we've passed through the body, and you look at 2008 and 2009, you go 10%, 9.9, 9.4, 13.0, 13.3, 14.1, 15.7. That was last year, and now we're going to go 5.7, 7.2, 1.4, 12.6, 22.5, 16.2, 12.6. Not only are we on an unsustainable course as far as mandatory programs like Social Security and Medicare. By the way, we have now borrowed from Social Security, stolen from Social Security $2.4 trillion, which we don't even recognize that we owe. We don't put it on our balance sheet. We've stolen $758 billion from Medicare Trust Fund, which we don't even recognize. So we borrowed $3 trillion from funds that were supposed to be there for our seniors and our retirees, which our children, not us, our children and our grandchildren will have to repay. And so I saw this the other day on the internet, and it speaks a million words to me. Here's a little girl, toddler, with a pacifier in her mouth. She's got a sign hanging around her neck. And she says, I'm already $38,375 in debt, and I only own a dollhouse. The problem with that is she way understated what she's in debt for. That's just the recognized external debt. That doesn't count what we've borrowed internally from our grandchildren. It doesn't count the unfunded liabilities that she, through her lifetime, will never get any benefit from, but will pay because we've stolen the benefit for us without being good stewards of the money that's been given to us. And if you go through this and you look at it, by the time she's 40, she will be responsible for $1,119,000 worth of debt we have accumulated and payments for Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid that she got absolutely zero benefit from. And then if you think about $1 million debt for a little girl like this and what it costs in interest just to fund that debt, if you just said 6%, she's got to make $60,000 first just to pay the interest on that debt. Before she pays any taxes, her share of the taxes then, before she has the capability to have a home and have children, have a college education, own a car, we are absolutely, with bills like this, strangling her. We are strangling her. And I'm reminded what one of our founders said, and it's so important. And you know, we just heard, and I love the senator from Maryland. She said we had plenty of money in the checkbook to do this. We don't have plenty of money in the checkbook to do it. What we have is an unlimited credit card that we keep putting the credit card into the machine and say, we'll take now, and our kids will pay later. That's what we're doing. Thomas Jefferson said, I predict future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them. And when we're seeing 12.6 and 15% increases in the non-mandatory side, the non-Social Security, the non-Medicare, the non-Medicaid side of the budget, we've fallen into the trap that Thomas Jefferson was worried about. And I know my colleagues are sick of me talking about this. But you know what? The American people aren't sick of us talking about it. They get it. They realize that we refuse to make hard choices. Every one of them are making hard choices today with their families about their future based on their income. Yet we have the gall to bring to the floor double-digit spending at a time when people, 10% of America, is out of work and seeking work. Another 5% have given up. And we're saying, well, it's fine if we have a 12% increase. It's fine. There's no problem. There's plenty of money in the checking account. There is no money in the checking account. We are perilously close to having our foreign policy dictated to us by those who own our bonds, people outside of this country. And the time to start changing that is now. I had two little amendments, and one is very instructive. The political science community is hot and bothered because I would dare to say that maybe in a time of $1.4 trillion deficits, maybe in a time when we have 10% unemployment, maybe in a time when we're at the worst financial condition we've ever been in our country's history, that maybe we ought not spend money asking the questions why politicians give vague answers, or how we can do a tele-town hall meeting and raise our numbers. Maybe we ought not spend that money on those kinds of things right now. You see, it's instructive because those that are getting from the federal government now don't care about their grandchildren. What they want is what they're getting now. Give me now, doesn't matter what happens to the rest of the generations that follow us. And so we have the political science community all in uproar not because I'm against the study of political science, but because I think now is not the time to spend money on that. Now is the time to spend money that we absolutely have to spend. They're absolute necessities, just like every family in America is making those decisions today. We don't have the courage to do it because it offends individual interest groups who are getting money from the federal government for a priority that's much less than the defense of this country, protecting people, securing the future, taking care of their health care, and making sure we have law and order. You see, Alexander Tyler warned of this as he studied why republics fail. He said all republics fail. They fail because when people learn that they can vote themselves money from the public treasury, all the other priorities go out the window. They become totally self-focused, self-centered on what it is for them with no long-range vision, only a parochial vision. No vision for the country as a whole, but only what is good for them. It's called self-centeredness. It's called selfishness. And we perpetuate it in this body by bringing bills to the floor that are resistant to amendments that say maybe this isn't a priority right now. And I would bet that if you polled the American public and said we're going to run another $1.4 trillion deficit this year, we probably wouldn't want to spend $12 million telling politicians how to stay elected. We probably wouldn't. And the fact is the major universities that get this small amount of money are endowed in excess of $50 billion. They have plenty of money to fund this if they want, but they don't do it because they're getting from the person that's out of work. They're getting from the person that didn't get that job because the economy's on its back, because we're borrowing $1.4 trillion and competing with the capital that's required to create a job. You know, it's just a small amount of money.